Hi everyone, Jackie Broman here. Happy Monday. Join Jackie's at 10 o'clock on Mondays. And again, Facebook has just lost all functionality. At least I can still go live. So I'm probably looking mirrored and backwards and all the rest, but we're here. We're doing the video anyway. Today's topic is about appointing guardians for your children. So also another topic, which is why I sort of went down the path of really wanting to do estate planning really well, because I've seen how badly families can be if a parent passes away and there is no will and no guardian for a child, or both parents dying suddenly and young children being left again without wills, no legal guardians, and then grandparents spending years fighting over the children and the money. And that's not what their parents would have wanted. So a guardianship appointment is really important. Back, maybe 100 years ago, or maybe even 20 years ago, having a godparent through your church may have been sufficient because your community would have respected that, and potentially the leader of the church would have stepped in and it would have been a much more formal, supported process. A godparent does not have any legality whatsoever now. Whether the wish would be respected or not, to have a legal guardian appointed for your children who are under 18, it does need to be in your will. So another reason, even if you feel like you don't have many assets, that a will is really important if you've got children under 18 to appoint guardians for them. And just as importantly as well, to make sure that you've got someone who looks after their money for them until they're old enough. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same person, but this is the first tip about appointing a guardian for your children. Generally, I would have a guardian appointed, and then that guardian would also be the executor along with at least one other person. So you've got an independent person helping with the money, and then the guardian looking after the children. So a couple of tips. You don't always have to consider family as the primary place to seek your guardians out. I know that family often has an obligation to us by blood, but sometimes family is not the best option to be your guardian, and that's fine as well. So we often think for family first because, as I said, they feel like they have more of an obligation to look after your children. However, if their values are not quite right, or if you're really worried about the financial burden of someone else bringing up your kids, then those concerns should really be set aside. So the money you put aside for your kids, the inheritance that they get, which don't forget includes the payout that comes out of your superannuation. So there's at least a couple of $100,000. Now that doesn't get locked away for the guardians never to be able to touch. Those funds can be used to educate and raise your children. So your guardian doesn't have to be out of pocket. They're not paid for doing the job, but certainly your children's education and extracurricular activities and medical expenses would be covered. So that might give you some relief about, well, it doesn't have to be family who I can burden, so to speak. You could find friends who potentially have closer values to you, who live closer to you than your family do, who have children the same age as your children, who will try and keep the kids in the same routine as much as possible. So it does depend on different family situations, but a lot of people don't live near their family. And if you want your kids to be disrupted as little as possible, then talking to friends about it may be the best option for you. And if you were asked by a friend to be guardian for their children, I'm sure you would be honoured. So don't let that hold you back about having that conversation with a friend about the guardianship appointment. So there you are. There's a couple of tips. Firstly, that the guardian should potentially be the executor as well, with at least one independent person. that the funds set aside for your kids' inheritance can also be used for their upbringing. So don't think that your guardian necessarily has to be financially burdened, which then hopefully frees you up to think about people broader than just your immediate family. Extended family or friends may be better for your children. And so those are the primary things that I wanted to talk about guardians. The very last thing is when you are thinking about guardians for your children, if you're thinking about a couple that is close to you, I would prefer you to select one person out of that couple. So try not to pick two people jointly as the guardian. You can, but it just makes it clearer if it's one person, because then the guardianship follows that person rather than if something happens to that couple. And thinking again about the couple, you wouldn't want your kids to go through a separation, so you may then want a backup guardian. You may say this person, but if they're unable or unwilling or go through a separation, then it's this person. So just having a couple of people there and just thinking through those scenarios, because if your children are young, it may be, you know, a good 10 years or so that someone has to look after them until they're adults at 18. So there you are. I know a couple of people popped in a little bit late on the live video. This live though does get saved onto the Facebook page, so please go back and watch it. Those main tips around appointing guardians for children in your will is that it does need to be in your will to be legally binding. Inheritance can be used for the upbringing of the children, so don't think that a guardian necessarily has to be out of pocket. The guardian should often also be an executor as well. Try to select one primary guardian and one alternative guardian rather than thinking of it as a couple jointly, and do think friends and family as an option if you want to keep your children in a similar routine or similar schooling and not have them their routine even more uprooted. If this you think would be helpful for anyone you know, please by all means comment and tag their name into the comment section, or once the live video has been saved onto the page, you can share it with them via Messenger. So yes, guardianship appointments. Again, for parents who think that they may not have much assets, so why bother doing a will? Well, if you've got children under 18, they're the primary reason why you do your will, to make sure that they're looked after by the right people and their inheritance is looked after by the right people as well, so they actually have something to show for it once they're older. So take care. Hope you have a great week. If any questions arise from this, by all means reach out. You can direct message us through the page or click through to the website and you can find our direct emails there. Hope to hear from you soon. Otherwise, join Jackie next Monday.